Good afternoon folks, it's Toad here with Visordown, and today I am on the launch of the Benda Napoleonbob from the new Chinese brand that are sort of making waves across the world, for sale in about 78 countries or so. And they are coming to the UK from the people at MotoGB up in Adlington, who are importing a little smattering of bikes to start with, but that is going to start ramping up over the coming months and years. So we've come up here today, primarily I've just been riding two bikes, which is the Benda LFC 700, which is their wild power cruiser with the biggest back tyre that you can buy basically, and this one. And I really wanted to just focus on two to keep it nice and simple, and also because of the other two bikes that were on offer today, this is the one that I could really see doing well over here in the UK. So as ever, I'm going to take you through everything about the bike, going to tell you the prices and the specs, and then we're going to go through how it handled up here, Lancashire. That's it. This bike comes in at £5,499, and then you've got a couple of £100 to add on top of that, which is for your on the road charging and everything else. So we've got an engine that pumps out 47 bhp. So this one is fully A2 compliant. It's obviously a V-twin liquid cooled. We've got 42 Newton meters of torque, and power is delivered to the rear wheel via a belt and a 6-speed gearbox with a slipper assisted clutch fitted. You've got 16-litre fuel tank, and you've got rider aids on this one. So you've got a little bit of electronics in terms of ABS, which is non-switchable. You've also got traction control, which is switchable just for either on or off. You've also got a very neat and tidy and nice looking TFT dash up there as well. So suspension comes from KYB, so we've got non-adjustable conventional forks on this. So they are shrouded to look like girder forks, but these are just plastic covers over them effectively, just to make it look a little bit more retro and a little bit more custom. It is standard KYB suspension underneath there. There's also a monoshock absorber on the rear as well, which is tucked up underneath your bum, which does give it quite a nice sort of hardtail look to it, which is very aesthetically pleasing. Braking system, we've got J-Juan single disc at the front with a 4-piston caliper and a 300mm disc, and we've got a 2-piston sliding caliper at the rear as well, which is another J-Juan item. So this one is coming in at 215 kilograms wet, which when you compare it to some of the other cruisers in this class, that's not too bad. That's around about in the right ballpark, and you get the options of either the black and the gold, or there is a more blacked out one as well, where you get black wheels instead of the gold wheels, and the pricing for those is pretty much exactly the same. So I'm going to get into the review of it now. I'm going to start with the engine, because that is one of the things that stood out to me from the moment I got on it, was just how charmingly cute that little V-twin is. It's only, you know, it's under 500cc, but it punches a lot harder than its spec sheet or its capacity would have you believe. It's got a really nice character to it. It's kind of raucous and playful. The throttle connection's really nice. You've got a ride-by-wire throttle on this one, and they've set that up pitch perfectly. I think it feels absolutely brilliant, and the fueling is just as good as well. But really what gets me with this one is the sound. It just sounds so raucous and so much fun when you're hammering it up through the revs. I mean, it revs to about sort of 7,000 really, and then it's run out of puff basically. But yeah, it just sounds brilliant as you go up through the rev range. You've got a nice bit of induction roar, and you've got a really nice exhaust note as well. There was one thing about the engine and gearbox combination that I wasn't too happy with, and that was the gearbox feel. So it feels a bit slushy. It's not the most direct gearbox out there. You don't get that nice defined snick as you hook into the next gear. The clutch is very light, which will be good around town, but for me, I'd prefer a bit more of a tighter feel to the gearbox, so you can definitely feel when you're going into the next gear. Because it's a little bit vague, I did get a couple of false neutrals where I'd slotted it into the next gear, but it hadn't quite gone in correctly, and it's quite a long throw to the lever, and where the pegs are positioned, it just made that a little bit difficult. Moving on to the handling of it really. So I mean, the bikes of this configuration, they're never the plushest or the most comfortable over lumps and bumps, but Benda have done a fairly decent job of actually speccing the suspension and setting it up for the little Napoleonbob, because it is not too bad. You still find yourself hunting out the smoothest tarmac and trying to avoid as many potholes as you can, but that's mainly down to the fact that you've got no way of taking any weight off your legs. Your arms aren't holding any weight, so it's all just going straight up your spine. Like any cruiser, it's not the best in a corner. I mean, you've got, you know, fairly conventional size wheels on this one, but you do have to pull it into a turn. Once you get it there, it holds the road nicely, it holds a line nicely, but you do have to just watch because it will understeer if you get on the throttle too early, and it will start to push you wide. The key to sort of getting this through a corner tidily is the slow in, fast out approach, and use a lot of the back brake right the way up until you've got into the apex of the corner, and it will just help pull the bike round into the corner. Overall though, it's entertaining. It kind of feels exciting, it feels lively, it kind of darts around the road a little bit, searching out for a piece of tarmac that it kind of likes. And I think it's just down to the size and combination of the tyres being so similar from the front and the rear. But it's an enthralling, it's a little exciting thing to ride, but it's not, you're never going a million miles an hour. It doesn't feel difficult to ride either. It feels very accessible. The seat height is sort of 675 millimeters, I think, so that is super accessible. Even the shortest riders, just like me, can get their feet flat on the floor with absolute ease. One thing you will have to note, and this is something that I noticed riding back on this bike this afternoon, was that the right hand side of the engine's got both the exhaust routing there, and they go right past your leg. So if you're in stop to start traffic and riding through town, for instance, and you're stopping and starting, your right leg will get very hot, especially if it's close to those two exhaust pipes, because they do kick out a lot of heat. Braking system on this one, we've got the Visordown stoppers at the front and the rear. They're okay, actually, they're not too bad. I mean, they are built, they've been chosen for budgetary reasons. They were chosen by an accountant, not the person who was going to be test riding the bike. But Visordown are a subsidiary of Brembo. They're a decent company. They make decent quality stoppers for a whole range of bikes that you wouldn't believe. And they actually work fairly well. They've got a nice lever feel. Rear brake on this thing is extremely strong and very direct, which I like. I use the back brake a hell of a lot when I'm riding around town or when I'm out on the open road as well. So that's a really neat feature that I quite enjoyed today, was having that really direct and positive rear brake. I'm going to talk about the comfort. This is only really something that I noticed on the way back into the office when we finished our ride. Didn't really notice it when we were riding up in the hills, but there are quite a lot of vibrations that come from that V-twin engine. So they come through the seat a little bit, but mostly through the pegs. I was really feeling them coming through the pegs. It kind of doesn't go away anywhere in the rev range as well. And because the final drive feels quite short, so sixth gear, you are almost redlining the thing at motorway speed, so there's no real place to hide from those vibrations whatsoever. It wasn't too bad from the bars, but it is mainly through those pegs, and they are rubber damped, so I think maybe if there's a way that they could sort of rubber damp the engine, that might be a way to improve that. But we shall see. There's no weather protection on the thing anyway, and it's not the kind of bike you're going to be sitting on the motorway on for hours on end. I don't think many people would choose this kind of bike for that kind of thing. On to the verdict. At under £6,000, I think this is a very nice entry into the UK market for Benda. I mean, it's a really attractive looking bike. You can't deny that this thing looks cool, and if it had a more prominent or a more well-known name on the fuel tank, you'd probably be sort of giving it a little bit more, or people would probably be giving it a little bit more praise than it has perhaps got. I mean, I've actually thought about this all day, that if you took all of the Benda and the Napoleonbob branding off the thing and just made it look completely blank of any branding whatsoever, there's not really anything to tell anyone that it isn't some cool custom that's been built by a proper custom bike builder somewhere out there in the world, because it has got that level of detail. It's got a really nice fit and finish. I love all this crackle paint that they've used on some of the heavier metal parts. I think it looks absolutely brilliant, and I've had a really good poke around inside the bike to have a look at all the fixtures and fittings, and it all looks actually really very good quality, which when you're looking at the price point of it coming in under £6,000, I don't know what else you could really get that looks as cool as this, is as individual as this, and rides as well, and is as accessible as this for that much money. It is a very interesting little bike. It'll be interesting to see how they do. I mean, if you've ridden one of their bikes already, there are some in some UK dealers, or they'll be trickling into UK dealers very soon. So if you fancy a go on the Napoleonbob, get yourself down to your local Benda dealer. Anyway, listen, I've gone on for far too long, folks. I've been towed for Visordown. If you like that one, please hit like and subscribe so you can stay up to date with all of our latest videos. And for all the latest news, reviews and motorcycle features, get yourself over to visordown.com.